Have you seen this title before? It's not surprising if you have. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of experiences on Roblox with this or a similar title, and they come up in nearly every experience search. If the title penetrated the periphery of your consciousness, it may have left you asking questions. Questions like, why would such a game exist? Why you aren't supposed to play it? Or why somebody would choose such a conspicuous name for a game they don't want you to click on. I played several of these experiences to gather evidence to probe these questions in order to discern whether these are simply the innocuous creations of would-be developers or fragments of a brilliantly orchestrated worldwide conspiracy. The conclusions I draw go well beyond the Roblox platform and tell us, perhaps more about our human psyche than we want to know. The experiences you encounter when opening these games range from mundane to bizarre. Of course, there's a poop staircase here. Wide and seemingly incomplete vistas stretch out before you with no indication as to the creator's intention. While strange, they seem innocent, harmless. In some of them, one might go so far as to call interesting diversions. So, why not play them? It's almost as though it's frozen in time. Occam's razor proposes that when presented with competing hypotheses which make the same prediction, one should favor the simplest solution. In the case of these experiences, the hypothesis with the fewest assumptions is that these are the works of random and unrelated developers, simply trying their hand at the platform. How many times did you tell me not to play the game? 1. You told me 1 time. Attributing these experiences to the hands of aspiring developers is convenient as an explanation, but it leaves us unsatisfied because it doesn't answer the question of why the experiences are public. When working on a new game, it's common practice to keep it private until you feel it's ready for others to engage with. The existence of a small number of these experiences could be attributed to developers not knowing how to make an experience private. But we're not trying to explain a small number. We're trying to explain thousands. And when you account for the fact that how to take an experience private appears so early in the Roblox development tutorials, the explanation simply doesn't scale. Well, you hate to see this. What alternative can we find then that fits the facts? What if the experiences are public not by chance, but out of necessity? What if their purpose requires our participation? What if we are the guinea pigs in a maze of seemingly haphazard experiences constituting a massive social experiment of global scale? Knowingly or unknowingly, Roblox has created an ideal platform for such an experiment. Its reach, broad appeal, and general accessibility provide a fertile ground of unsuspecting subjects willing to try just about anything, even if only for a few moments. It would seem I might not be able to play the game. I seem to die effectively immediately upon spawning. But you don't just run such experiments for their own sake. There's a goal, a purpose, an objective, something that someone is trying to learn about us, about society, about humanity. Simulation theory asks the question of whether we exist within the context of a simulation and its proponents and detractors investigate the logical merits of such a possibility and the potential of evidence in support or contradiction of the theory. Now imagine not that you're in such a simulation, but that you're designing such a simulation. How would you go about it? Is this like The Ring? Is some girl gonna crawl out of my monitor and eat me, I guess? I was never entirely clear on how the people died. When you design a system, you start by considering the requirements of the system. The functional requirements, what the system needs to do, and the non-functional requirements, the constraints which the system must satisfy. 1999 blockbuster hit The Matrix gives us a key constraint, which is that a simulation robust enough to harbor human consciousness must be palatable to the consciousness. To paraphrase The Matrix, it was found that when the consciousness was placed into a perfect utopia, it rejected it as reality. Yeah, what's the secret sauce? So if you were creating a simulation for true consciousness, perhaps as an arc for humanity careening towards disaster, your simulation would have to be something such consciousness would accept. How would you go about designing a system which would realize such a constraint? How would you learn what human consciousness would accept? You would experiment. Oh yeah, that's New Horizons. Oh boy, I have a sword out now. You would need to test a wide variety of participants. Willing participants who did not know they were being tested. And those participants would need to go into the experiment without expectation of the result. Further, you would want to derive information by testing a controlled variety of simulations in order to see how adjusting particular variables in isolation affected the outcome. Was I just killed by Peter Griffin? Do the don't play this game experiences satisfy these criteria? Roblox is currently the most popular game on the planet. There's no better venue for the propagation of test simulations to a diversity of subjects. There's nothing in the titles, descriptions, or experiences themselves which would make it self-evident that these are experiments. Further, the quantity and range of quality of experiences on Roblox would lead the passive observer to believe the aspiring developer hypothesis. When a game is titled Digging Simulator, or Piggy Playtime, the player almost immediately forms expectations of the experience before starting to play. On the other hand, the title Don't Play This Game, and similarly vague to non-existent descriptions and thumbnails, do little to evoke expectation or association to previous experiences, increasing the likelihood of participants entering the experiment without any preconceptions. This is probably the least ideal place to go to the bathroom. After playing several games, you see a through line. Odd commonalities and repeating themes. While the experiences do not seem to share any connection beyond their title, they share many traits. This points to the possibility that these experiences are being automatically created by generative algorithms. With its roots in evolutionary theory, generative algorithms are ones which continue to produce better and better answers to a question by giving birth to successive generations of child answers, and allowing those branches of the lineage which are not moving closer to a goal to die off. Steve Harvey? Why are you here? With each generation, these experiences would be altered, typically in a singular way to allow the algorithm to isolate the impact of change to a single variable. The fact that these experiences have indicators being produced in this fashion is strong evidence that they are the result of satisfying this fourth criteria. Without hard evidence, it may be impossible to prove that the Don't Play This Game experiences are a structured experiment with aims to harbor a future state of digital consciousness for humanity. But if this hypothesis is true, if these games exist to algorithmically identify an ideal platform to harbor the human mind, a chilling corollary arises. Since the objective of the experiment is to design a simulation capable of sustaining human existence, if we derive the direction which the generative algorithm sees as most viable, we should be able to peer uncomfortably deep into what it can tell us about the human psyche. To do just that, we have taken the data available to us, the experiences, their descriptions, their relative characteristics, average player counts, likes and dislikes, to see what features have been retained or emphasized and which have been discounted. Using nonlinear regression, we reconstructed the most likely family tree of experiences. Assuming the longest generative line to be the one which the algorithm presently sees as most conducive to harboring humanity in a digital space, we are led to this experience, simply titled, Don't Play This Game. If this hypothesis holds true, then this experience offers an unparalleled look behind the veil of our psyche, into what we as humanity see as most real, most fundamental, and most necessary for survival.
Trời gà